Say we can cross live to India and to journalist and political commentator Arnab Neil Sengupta. Arnab, good to have you with us. So Pakistan is saying 2 Indian fighter jets have been downed. Where does this lead the situation? How does India respond? Have they already responded?
I doubt whether there will be another response from India, because there was a response, and this is like a counter response, which was part of the Pakistani policy that if there is an attack on their territory, they will have to respond. And since both are nuclear powers country, and the leaders know the stakes are very high, they just can't afford a full-fledged conflict. So the hope is that things will not spin out of control, and both sides will sort of cut their losses, so to say, and decide that let's bury this chapter and we'll look forward to some other means, maybe, of continuing the war by other means, maybe through diplomatic, trade, economic and all, because there are no winners in the military tug of war, as we have seen so far.
Did you foresee this happening? Because Pakistan says its airspace was violated once again, and that a strong response from Islamabad would more than likely than not be expected.
No, I think it was expected, because according to Pakistani operation rules, the military was bound to respond, possibly in the direction of the base from where the Indian jets had flown, but that it would happen in broad daylight today, and presumably, as the Pakistanis say, from Pakistani territory, and the line of control, that's what they say, that shooting happened from Pakistani territory, and the Indian jets were targeted there. That was probably not expected by ordinary Indian people, but the Indian military presumably anticipated some sort of action. What exactly happened there? Because of the fog of war, it's not very clear. But I think everybody is getting their information from social media, from the videos that are circulating, from the claims and counterclaims. So this much does seem that no sides have won this round of war, and maybe the best way is to pull back and take up.
Do you see anything about the timing of what is happening now, to look into that? Because as we said, it's the biggest escalation since 1971, close to 50 years. Could this recent tough stance on Pakistan, for instance, we know that there's general elections coming up, Prime Minister Narendra Modi looking for re-election. Is there anything to look into that, do you think?
There is a lot of talk that he may have been forced by the pressures of the election, but it is difficult to see, because it was a gamble anyway to take such a big military action, because there could always be a backlash from the Pakistani side, which has happened right now. So I think it is a little far-fetched to think that he has done it for securing an election victory, because in general, I think there was a lot of anger and grief in India over the deaths of the military police. So regardless of whichever government was in power there, would have been forced to take some kind of action, because I think Indians do not expect that to go back to the time when there will be no reaction. But whether the military response was the right response is obviously a debatable thing. The government decided that it should go ahead with that. It is difficult to frankly predict, to judge whether it was done with an eye to election, because this is such a big thing that...
We're seeing so many contradicting reports, aren't we, about the airstrikes in Pakistan administered Kashmir, the Pakistani military rejecting India's claims that it hit a terrorist base. What's your take on that aspect of things, about one country attacking terrorist bases, or are they not?
That area, by what reports come from Pakistan, it does seem like where there were probably camps of the group that supposedly claimed a responsibility for the attack. But I don't think the Indian government didn't really make it a big thing that we did attack bases kind of thing, because the intent was perhaps not to escalate matter too much, but to show that we have just taken kind of a revenge against the killings that happened in Kashmir. But as luck would have it, that Pakistan obviously would counter attack in response to its territory being violated. So this has led to the escalation, and I'm not sure. I'm sure that the Indian government is also aware that there are, it's not so easy to hit the camps there, because nobody really knows whether camps are really concentrated there or whether they are spread out in other areas. And moreover, whether, India has the capacity to exactly, specifically target and kill militants there. It's not an easy thing to do unless you have ground intelligence, which is doubtful whether India has ground intelligence in that kind of area.
All right, well, thank you for coming on the programme and sharing your take this hour. Journalist and political commentator Arnab Neil Sengupta, live from India.